East Hampton Village ZBA, we are live.
So thank you and good morning. Welcome to the Village of East Hampton Zoning Board of Appeals meeting for Friday, August 11th. And I'd like to thank LTV Studios for hosting us again. We have the minutes from June 9th, 2023 and July 14th, 2023. May I have a motion?
So moved.
Second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
We have 7 determinations today, and the entire files are available at Village Hall if you'd like to review them. In the application, why don't you do the first 3 and I'll do the last 4.
Okay. In the application of Russell J. DeGate and Noreen R. Sharp, 7 Show Road, Suffolk County Tax Map Number 3011416, to legalize a slate patio is approved. May I have a motion?
So moved.
Second?
Second.
Pam?
Could you move the microphone closer, sir?
Is that better?
Much.
Mr. McGurk?
Yes.
Mrs. McMullen?
Yes.
Mr. O'Connell?
Yes.
Mr. Rose?
Yes.
Mr. Barris?
Yes.
Okay. In the application of Maidstone Club, Inc., 50 Old Beach Lane, Suffolk County Tax Map Number 3019522, for a special permit to make structural alterations to an existing building is approved. May I have a motion?
So moved.
Second?
Second.
Pam, can you pull the board, please?
Mr. McGurk?
Yes.
Mr. McMullen?
Yes.
Mr. O'Connell?
Yes.
Mr. Rose?
Yes.
Mr. Barris?
Yes.
Okay. In the application of 23 Dune Lane LLC, 23 East Dune Lane, Suffolk County Tax Map Number 301-9-521.4, to construct a patio is approved. May I have a motion?
So moved.
Second.
Second.
Pam, please.
Mr. McGurk?
Yes.
Mr. O'Connell?
Yes.
Mr. Barris?
Yes.
In the application of East Dune Lane Corp., 27 East Dune Lane, Suffolk County Tax Map Number 301-9-5-21.3, to install two sculptures is approved. May I have a motion?
Yes. Motion.
Second.
Second.
Pam?
Mr. McGurk?
Yes.
Mr. O'Connell?
Yes.
Mr. Barris?
Yes.
In the application of West End Partners 2 LLC, 51 West End Road, Suffolk County Tax Map Number 301-15-5-6, to make alterations and renovations and to construct additions to an existing residence is approved. May I have a motion? Second.
Second.
Mr.
Pam?
McGurk?
Yes.
Mr. O'Connell?
Yes.
Mr. Barris?
Yes.
Ms. Fitzsimons?
In the application of West End Partners LLC, 57 West End Road, Suffolk County Tax Map Number 301-15-5-8, to construct an outdoor sauna is approved. May I have a motion?
So moved.
Second.
Second.
Pam?
Mr. McGurk?
Yes.
Mr. O'Connell?
Yes.
Mr. Barris?
Yes.
Ms. Fitzsimons? Yes.
Jimmy will do the last one. Go ahead.
In the application of Peter and Siri Berkey, 139 Further Lane, Suffolk County Tax Map Number 301-412-6.2, to construct an addition to an existing residence is approved. May I have a motion?
Motion.
Second?
Second.
Pam, can you pull the board?
Mr. McGurk?
Yes.
Mr. McMullen?
Yes.
Mr. O'Connell?
Yes.
Mr. Barris?
Yes.
Ms. Fitzsimons? Yes.
We have 3 adjournments today. 55 LaForest LLC to October 13th, Huntington Hospitality LLC to September 8th, and Skylight East LLC to September 8th. And we have the first hearing of the day. Pam, can you please read the notice?
Application of Timothy J. Tynan, Suffolk County Tax Map Number 301-1430, for an area variance from Chapter 278 zoning to construct decking and roofed patios that will exceed coverage. A 747-square-foot variance is requested from Section 278 3A9A to permit 2,972 square feet of coverage, where 2,225 square feet is the maximum permitted coverage. The subject property is 8,624 square feet in area and is located at 34 Sherrill Road in Residence District R40. This project is classified as a Type 2 action in accordance with SEQA.
Is the applicant present?
Alex Balsam for the applicant. Threw me off, I was ready for the Jewish Center, but we'll go right into.
Start the day and you're going to end the day.
Yeah, that's right.
Okay.
All right, so, as you know, we're looking for, to remove the small patio that's back there now, add a deck off the back, and a roofed, open-walled structure off on the side of the house. So I don't know if, I think Abigail was there, but if you haven't been there, I just wanted to test these out. These are photos of each side of the backyard. It shows how hedged that the backyard is. I mean, it's very substantial hedging. You can't essentially see any of the other neighboring houses there. So for starters, this project really isn't going to be seen from any of the neighbors. The southerly neighbor has a pre-existing non-conforming garage that sits up against the property line. It's also going to further screen the the project and add a barrier in between. And that southerly neighbor would potentially, I'd say, be the most directly impacted because we're closer to that southerly property line. The addition would be behind the existing facade of the house, or the existing footprint of the house, so you're not going to see it from the road. The addition is 1 story, and as I said, it's open-walled, about 492 square feet of that proposed extra coverage will have a roof. And I do want to point out that this obviously doesn't add any bedrooms or an interior space. It's not going to increase the intensity of the use. It's just going to add a good deal of enjoyment for the tenants to use their backyard how they'd like to use it. The family has 5 children that visit in the summer, and they just like to gather around the pool in the backyard. Obviously, this is a small property, small square properties, square house, squarish pool in the backyard. So we're restrained, obviously, by the code to do this without the variance. But I will say that I don't really see any potential for any negative impacts here. I didn't see any opposition letters. And in terms of the standards, this isn't going to produce an undesirable change to the character of the neighborhood. I'd say, even after this addition, the scale of the house will be comparable to the other homes in the area. And because of the points I mentioned at the start, there's not going to be a detriment to any of the nearby homes. As I said, the benefit to the owner can't be achieved without the variance. We're just looking to increase the enjoyment of the property. In terms of the substantial nature of the variance, we're looking at a 33% lot coverage variance, which on its face sounds somewhat substantial, but again, I would point to what we're proposing to add here, and its relatively benign nature. There's certainly no adverse impacts on the physical and environmental conditions in the neighborhood. The alleged difficulty is arguably not self-created, that the tenants purchased the property in 2020, haven't changed a thing, and obviously they're just looking to tweak it to their needs, which I would say would be a substantial benefit to them, I would maintain no or zero impact to the neighborhood.
Thank you, Alex. Pam, who's sitting on this, just to be clear?
Mr. McGurk, Mr. Rose, Ms. Fitzsimons.
Okay, thank you. Billy has wrote a memo on this. Billy, do you want to make any comments on the memo, or you're good? Okay, thank you. Anybody have any questions?
I just have a comment, which is, it sounds, 33% sounds substantial because it is substantial. There's a lot, it is a small site, but this is a lot of program and a lot of, this is a substantial variance being sought.
Yeah, I'd like to see it cut back a
I
little bit.
agree. I agree with Joe's comments as well.
I do as well.
Well, I'm here with architect Chris Tassuno as well as the tenants. Chris, you want to come up and, yes, we will present something that's cut back.
I think it's aggressive, so
Okay.
I think we'd like to, we can keep the hearing open, and if you come back with something that's
Yeah, understood.
doable, we'll.
You got it. Good.
Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you. Let's move on to the next hearing, Pam. So we'll leave this open until September 8th.
I'll recuse myself on this one.
Of Keith L. and Ann Sinar, Suffolk County Tax Map Number 301-1213, for an area variance from Chapter Chapter 278 zoning to legalize the gross floor area of an existing residence. A 313 square foot gross floor area variance is requested from Section 278 3A13 to legalize the conversion of a carport into an attached garage. The existing gross floor area is 2,784 square feet, and the maximum permitted gross floor area is 2,471 square feet. The subject property is 14,712 square feet in area and is located at 58 McGurk Street in Residence District R40. This project is classified as a Type 2 action in accordance with SECR.
Okay, and Pam, Mr. McMullins recused himself. He's been noticed as a neighbor.
Okay.
So sitting on the board will be
Ms. Barris,
four of us.
Rose, Ms. Fitzsimons.
Is anybody here to present? Thank you.
Good morning, members of the board. My name is Denise Shern. I'm an attorney, and I'm here this morning, on behalf of the applicant, who is seeking a variance from the gross floor area limitation in order to legalize a carport that was enclosed with a garage door. The property is located at 58 McGurk Street. Just by way of background, when the clients purchased the property, those of you that are familiar with McGurk Street might recall that this property actually contained 52, 56, and 58 McGurk Street. It had 2 single-family residences on it, and then 1 building that had 2 apartments in it on 14,000 square feet of property, a third of an acre. The applicants tried to renovate those structures and come up with a plan that would work for their family, but throughout that process determined that it would be in their best interest to eliminate the extra units of density and go down to a single family residence, which is what they did. I'm here today asking for a variance for something that's already been done. And I know that that is not something that the board looks upon favorably. I don't look upon it favorably. The applicants have been very upfront about the fact that they did it without getting a building permit and are apologetic as a result. And when they got notice of it, immediately hired me and asked me if I would come forward and ask for the variance. And normally I would have said no due to the fact that the work had already been done. But when I went through the 5 factors and looked at the application, realized that they had a case to be made, and that if the board could put aside and just give me 10 minutes to run through the standards, I think you might agree that having the garage door is actually better for the neighborhood than not having it. So the reason, as I said, behind the variance request is that the original structure had essentially a hole where the garage would have been. So the plans are should be in your file. But the design of the house, it was designed so that you would think there would be an attached garage, but instead there was an opening in the shape of a garage door. And then, of course, the side of the building was open too. So there were 2 sides that were open. There was the rear of the building had a wall. The side of the building, of course, had a wall to get into the house. It's a 1-car garage of 377 square feet. And at the time, the applicants thought, this is kind of neat. Maybe it'll work. We can put our surfboards out there and let them dry after going to the beach. We can hang stuff, towels. They thought it was a good idea, having never lived in a single-family residence and been apartment dwellers for most of their lives. After a few seasons of rain and snow, they realized that the carport was not such a good idea because it led to, of course, rusting of bicycles and anything that was metal, essentially, inside the garage. And they also felt self-conscious about the fact that what was in their garage was visible to the entire neighborhood. So when people walked by, which happens frequently, there's a sidewalk right in front of their house. It's lovely, the house is lovely, but I can see, I didn't see it myself with my own eyes, but I can imagine walking past that thinking, why is there a hole in this house? And why isn't it finished? So.
I can comment on that. It was bizarre, so.
Okay. So you'll see in the application that we also submitted, I think, 5 or 6 letters from neighbors that are in support of the variance. And, you know, the primary reason is what I just said, that they felt like the building looked unfinished. It didn't look like it fit into the character of the neighborhood. They didn't want to see, you know, what you would normally house in a garage from the street. So the applicants, as I said, went forward and put in a garage door and also finished that one side of the building. So now it's fully enclosed. And I did go and take pictures yesterday of not only the exterior, so you can see what that looks like, but also the interior, so you can sort of get an idea of what you would be looking at from the street if you were walking by. And of course, you know, they could change what they keep in here, but this is sort of like standard stuff you would put in your garage. So I only have one set of the.
That's fine, you can, we'll just let everybody take a peek at that. Would the applicant have a problem if we put a covenant on this to remain a garage? Can we do that, Lisa?
Yes. They would not have a problem at all. There's no intent to convert this to habitable space or finish, you know, they don't need heat, air conditioning. You know, it doesn't need to be conditioned space. They just want a place to store all of the stuff that you see in the picture. As you know, you have 5 factors to consider. In terms of making an argument about whether or not the variance request is substantial, I would note that the request is 12%, and I went through your prior GFA variances, and I did bring copies of those for everybody. I don't know if everyone's going to want to read them, so I'll leave it up to you whether you just want one copy for the file, but there's 4 or 5 prior GFA variances. I think the first one is probably the most interesting and relatable to this project. It's Vinder. That was a request for a 356 square foot GFA variance to expand a garage. Here, we're not expanding the house by an inch. Like, there will be no additional coverage. There will, essentially, we're asking for you to give a stamp of approval on the status quo as it exists today. No additional variances are needed, and I would note that in the variances that I've submitted, they all included variances other than the GFA variance. It is the minimum variance necessary to afford the applicant relief. Unfortunately, there's just no way around needing a GFA variance once that garage door was put up.
Any board members have any questions on this?
So this was done when? What year? When was the original construction built, and when was the enclosure done?
The original construction was 2016, but I actually don't know the date of the enclosure, and I apologize. I can't recall it. I tried to look it up before I got up here, but it's not in my notes anywhere. And you wouldn't know, would you?
Within the last year.
So it's one season. I think one winter season is what they went
And
through.
this was work done without a building permit?
It was, yes.
By a local contractor or by a...
I actually didn't ask them who put it in, who installed it.
I have a concern, Mr. Chair. It sounds like it's and certainly from the photos, it doesn't look like it's an intrusion, but I'm concerned about the camel's nose aspect of this kind of thing, where something is built, it doesn't have the GFA, then post hoc it is converted into alternative space. While it may make sense in this case to grant the variance for the reasons stated, it would, from a plans perspective, I could see this game, not saying it was an intentional game, but I'm concerned that nothing we do in this case set a precedent for any kind of retroactive, tolerance of this kind of stuff going forward.
And then the board is going to look at the, in context, the individual, the facts of this particular case and making its determination. So it shouldn't have an overriding impact or a stamp of approval of any kind.
I just want to state clearly on the record and for the record that this is not a situation that the board will, as a rule, be sympathetic to.
Could we get like a summary of Billy Hajak's report? Just a brief summary?
I didn't prepare.
Billy did.
I can address the board.
May I just address Mr. Rose's comment? Just because I thought about it too. And I wouldn't want you to set a negative precedent for the village either. And I don't want people to be encouraged to end run the GFA law. So giving it a lot of thought myself, one consideration I had was that the village board should consider making carports part of GFA to begin with, because they're always going to be part of the house. There's always going to be that desire to close it up. So I know you guys can't do that, but just...
But that does leap to mind in terms of how you treat something on plans that, let's just say, might pose to some a temptation to come along subsequently and do an early conversion. And our determinations will address these issues, presumably.
And they
as
are.
well as
The ones that I pulled are...
Any covenant about heating space, enclosed space, we want to be very careful, is my suggestion, in terms of
How you word
if
it.
we do approve this, that
That's why we want the covenant, so you can't convert it to a
Understood.
habitable space.
yes.
Thank you. I'm
Billy, you want to
sorry.
make anybody in the audience like to speak on this? Billy, you want to give a few comments on this, if you could, please?
Yes, sir. I mean, I'll just summarize what
Yep. It's been more or less said.
Thank you.
So it is a 12%, I'm sorry, Billy Hajak for the Village of East Hampton. It's a gross floor area variance to obviously enclose a garage, what appeared to be a garage space or a carport. To Board Member Rose's comment, the code defines gross floor area by the measuring to the outside of the exterior walls of a building. So we have had situations where clever designs enclose large portions of space but are not necessarily completely finished. And then the thought is, well, maybe they're going to come back in for a variance to simply put windows in or take out the screens and replace it with windows, or in this case, add a garage door. Right now, our code is more or less, doesn't necessarily address that issue. It's more of a discretion situation with the building department. In this case, it's a 12% variance. The board, in similar situations, the board has required covenants which reinforce that the garage space shall be always used as garage and not converted to quote-unquote livable or habitable space like a bedroom. And in this case, the expansion does not trigger the need for a septic upgrade. It's a 12% expansion of the floor area, where 25% would actually necessitate the need for a septic upgrade. So that would not be required.
Good with it?
Have any questions for me? Other questions? I'm happy to try to answer them.
Thank you, Billy.
Thanks. Okay.
Any other comments?
Just picking up on that, so noting there is some discretion in the buildings department when an application is filed that includes a situation like that now, or is there something that I just ask you to study this in conjunction with the building department and perhaps make a recommendation to the board for clarification of the issue if you deem it necessary.
Yeah. Okay. Understood. Yep.
Thanks. Motion to close the hearing?
So moved.
Second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Okay, thank you.
Thank
you very much.
Moving on to our next hearing of the day, and Mr. McMullen's going to chair this one.
Application of Susan Schuman Family Trust, Suffolk County Tax Map Number 301-7512 for area variance 278 zoning to legalize pool equipment. Variances of 12.1 feet and 3.1 feet are required from section 278 3A5C to legalize swimming pool equipment located 27.9 feet from a side yard lot line and 36 feet from a rear yard lot line, where the required setbacks are 40 feet. The subject property is 43,196 square feet in area and is located at 11 Jericho Close Road in Residence District R80. This project is classified as a Type 2 action in accordance with SECRA.
Hi, good morning, Board. My name is Katie Frank from Kriegsman PC, representing the owner of 11 Jericho Close. I'm also joined here today with Charles Galanti from Galanti Inc. He's the builder on the project. So the applicant recently renovated the house and moved the pool equipment from one non-conforming location to a different non-conforming location. So we are here today requesting relief for the pool equipment. It is two separate variances, one for 12.15 feet and one for 3.1 feet. Going through the balancing factors, we believe that an undesirable change will not be produced in the character of the neighborhood. The pool equipment will not be visible from the neighboring parcels or the road due to the vegetation that currently exists on the premises. Whether the benefit can be sought by some other method, we don't believe so because of the strict nature of the setbacks. It's really hard to locate the pool within those setbacks, but we don't believe that the variance is substantial. In fact, we are bringing the pool equipment into further conformance on one of the property lines, even though we're moving it over closer to the other. Whether the variance will have an adverse impact on the environment, we don't believe so. The pool equipment was already existing on the premises, again, in a non-conforming location, so we're just moving it to a slightly other non-conforming location. And whether the difficulty was self-created, in a sense it was, but the owner was unaware of the double setback for pool equipment, which is how it ended up getting built in that location. The board has...
It is.
Yes. Yes.
This is not the...
Yes, we said that it is.
It is, right?
Yes.
It doesn't appear. Right? So.
If the board has any questions, we'd be happy to answer them.
I had a chance to go out there, and I didn't really see any effect on the neighbor's property to the north of this. It is. I don't know if anybody else got a chance to go out there and look, but it's enclosed. It's behind the garage. We haven't received any letters of opposition.
Neighbors have been noticed, and there's been no comment. Is that correct?
Correct. I don't know if anybody else has any questions or comments.
No comments.
And in that case, I would ask to close the hearing. Have a motion?
So moved.
Second.
All in favor? Aye. Thank you.
Board.
Thank you.
Application of John McEnany and Meredith McNaughton, Suffolk County Tax Map Number 301-1422, for area variances from Chapter 278 zoning to legalize a slate patio and construct a new patio that exceeds coverage. Variances of approximately 9 feet and 5 feet are requested from Sections 278, 3A5A and B to legalize a slate patio located 26 feet from the front yard lot line and 5 feet from a side yard lot line, where the required front yard setback is 30 feet and the required side yard setback is 10 feet. A 488 square foot variance is requested from Section 278, 3A9A to permit 2,777 square feet of coverage, where 2,289 square feet is the maximum permitted coverage. The subject property is 8,945 square feet in area and is located at 31 Sherrill Road in Residence District R40. This project is classified as a Type 2 action in accordance with SECRA.
Morning.
Good morning. I'm Meredith McNaughton, the owner of the property, with my husband, John.
Yeah, can we
I have
swear
to
you in?
swear you in.
Oh, sure.
Do you swear to tell the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth?
I do.
Thank you.
So please, you want to give us a little?
Sure.
just for your-
Sure.
Thank you.
So I'm Meredith McNaughton. My husband, John, and I purchased the property in 2021, and the prior owner had stepping stones that are outlined on the survey, both in the front and in the backyard. And so our intent with this variance is to seek legalization of the stepping stones that are in the front yard, and then to essentially make a continuous area of stone in the backyard so that we can place our outdoor furniture on a solid surface. Currently, we have dining table and chairs that sink into the grass, and because those are wood items, all of the grass below them every summer dies, becomes muddy, and so our feet, when we are out there, are in the mud. We've currently put down a carpet to just kind of make do, but our intent is just to have more enjoyment of the backyard than we do presently by extending that area into a continuous solid surface.
Okay, thank you. Any board members?
You don't have any intentions of enlarging that existing pergola or
No.
anything? That's all staying just the way it is?
Exactly. Yeah, so we're just intending to do an at-grade patio, listening to some of the other attorneys present, I guess the other comments perhaps to make here are that we have significant hedges and gates, so we don't think that any of this would be visible to neighbors or anything like that.
Okay. And this is work that has not yet been done.
Correct.
So, Abigail, you okay? All right. So motion to close the hearing?
So moved.
Second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Thank you. Okay, and we have the continued hearings now for Mark K. Webb, 123 Egypt Lane. We do have a memo from Billy. Okay. And I think the board members have seen the memo that Billy has written. And I think, well, I'm okay with the revegetation plan that you have. I think
I have no problem with it.
some of the board members might, any issues?
So I just have some comments, because they have been in non-compliance with the prior variances that were issued, that we retain the right, in the decision, we retain the right to inspect once a year, and if the building inspector thinks it's over-cleared, that at the owner's cost and expense, we can require a survey with clearing depicted on that and the calculations.
So that's something we can, that would be my,
The applicant agreeing to that?
I don't think that would be a problem.
all right. Anybody else have any comments? Anybody in the board? Anybody in the audience? Thank you.
Just want to underscore the point of which is the plan, we expect the plan, and the village expects the plan in approving this to be adhered to and not just be done cosmetically once and then revert to the previous condition of non-compliance.
Yeah, it's much different when you come to us with clean hands than having violated for the past however many years.
Okay. All right. So a motion to close the hearing?
So moved.
Second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Thank you. And Mr. McMullen's going to take over from here.
Okay. So, taking a step forward from last time, Alex, you want to address the board? I know you've presented more information. I know the opposition has as well. What I'd like to do is just get your comments on everything, and then we can let Jameson do the same and go from there.
Yeah, thanks, Jim. I will say up front, as a continuation of my comments, I'm going to, Richard Datner's going to join me at some point, as is the rabbi, as I, wrap up my final comments here and give you a recap where we're at. So, as was stated in my August 4th letter, we're happy to report that SoundSense and Crescendo, working together, have designed and spec'd out a mutually agreeable amplification system for the pavilion. We've, of course, read Jameson's August 7th letter on this point, and I do want to briefly note on that really nothing in that letter, in Jameson's letter, changes what we are proposing. I believe the first and second points of Jameson's letter ask for clarification that the amplification levels will not be adjusted beyond what we have proposed. We certainly agree with this notion. We've stated on the record, both verbally and in writing, that Crescendo will have sole access and ability to adjust the speaker levels, and should these levels ever have to be adjusted, they, of course, will not be adjusted beyond the levels that we've set forth in our letter and our proposal. However, we don't agree with the third and final point of the letter, which is a suggestion that the issuance of the CO be conditioned on SoundSense's approval or certification that the limiter setting and the procedures followed meet the terms of our proposal. I think that giving an objector's agent this sort of power would be unprecedented and likely not permissible. Basically, we don't think it's kosher, and we know kosher, to give the objector's agent the ability to stop the issuance of a CO by making their consent a firm prerequisite to that CO. Instead, what we propose is the appropriate path forward. It invites SoundSense to be a part of the install process, allows SoundSense to conduct its own readings and submit its own findings to the village prior to the CO being issued. If SoundSense has any issues with any of the process or the results, they are being invited to submit those findings to the village. And I imagine that if SoundSense raises any objections, the village will have further inquiries and the like prior to the issuance of that CO. But it is ultimately up to the village to determine if we've met the criteria that we proposed or further work or testing is to be done. In regards to special events, which additional letters have been submitted by both sides here.